So we're going to start with the webinar. It's about the foundation phase in Holland at PSV, and we have a few key points in our way of how we work. And two key points I will present today are adaptability and the ownership. So I'll give you a presentation about 45 minutes. Hopefully you understand everything which I'm going to say to you, which I'm presenting, and hopefully it's okay for you. So ask questions if you don't understand me or I'm not really good in how I explain things. So I'll start. The Fundament is the foundation phase, how we call it at PSV, and how it's different than other pro clubs in Holland, or maybe all academies in the world. We think we have to deal with the individuals. So we have a lot of players, which I'll show you in the next page. We have a lot of players. We have a lot of development centers where we develop our players, and we are quite unique because we don't have all the players on one location or one centrum. For example, at PSV at the Hertgang in Eindhoven, but we split them on several development centers where we develop the players in the foundation phase, which what we call our Fundament. But we also develop and challenge our coaches. So we have a lot of coaches in our youth academy, especially at the Fundament. And we think it's really challenging because if you look to the individual, our main thing is to challenge them and to stretch them to become the best player. So we don't talk in teams, we talk in individuals, and we don't train and play on one development center, but we split them in 5 centers for next year. But we play together, so we play as well as a team. So you see a lot of prizes in the screen. We see also a lot of individual prizes for the best players of tournaments or the best teams. One coach, you see a lot. His name is Martin, and he won a lot of prizes. So he asked me to say his name, so you all know him. So we are really proud of prizes, and we think when we challenge the individuals and we put them together in one team, you also can create prizes. So you don't have to train with the same boys or with the same coaches every day to win prizes. So hopefully that's one of the main things that we've changed for the last few years. Okay, this is really important for you, but a short introduction about myself. I started my coaching career when I was 15 years old. So I'm 34 at the moment, so almost 20 years of experience. I'll build up from the low amateurs till the best club in Holland, which is PSV. And also I've worked at the Dutch FA, Dutch Football Association, as an instructor, as a coach, head of recruitment. So I did a lot of different jobs at different ages. And I built up my career to PSV at the moment. They asked me many times what's my dream above PSV, and that's maybe the reason why I'm giving you this presentation. I want to become a good coach or a good developer abroad, especially in England or America. So it's good learning experience for me to challenge myself to give a presentation in English. So hopefully I'm doing well today. Back to the Fundament. I've told you we have a lot of players. So if you compare with another club in Holland, they have every age group, I think the half of our players. So 15 under 10s, I think 18 under 11s, and I think 20 under 12 teams, under 12 players. We have doubled it up because we train on different development centers. But we put them all together in one photo. In one photo session. So you see all the coaches, see all the players in different age groups. And you also see in the staff, we have a really big staff just for our foundation phase, for our Fundament. And all players are on the same picture. You also see the really quality players or high potentials they train with 1 year older, or some of they train or they play with 2 years older. But those players will play regular with under 12, under 11, and under 10. I've told you about our centers. You see Holland. It isn't really big, but we have the half of Holland is where we recruit our players. The stars are where our players live, and the logos are the amateur clubs or the development centers where we train. So if you compare it with one club who's stated in one city, if you see the logo of PSV, there's a much travel distance for our kids. So when we train closer to where we live, it's easier for them to train because they don't have to travel as much and they are closer to their homes. Our intention is to recruit players within a maximum of 50 kilometers from the location where they train. But if you see the stars and you know Holland for a little bit, some kids have to travel max an hour to go to the location or to the development center where they train. But it's much closer now when you have to travel every day to PSV Eindhoven. We make choices from under 12 to under 13, and that's the age when they go to the primary school, and then they have to train every day at PSV, and they also go to the primary school in Eindhoven until under 12. They stay at their own school and they stay at their own home, so they don't have to be at guest parents. But above 12 and they're under 13s, when they go to the development phase of our club, they have to go to school in Eindhoven, and some kids live at guest parents. But that's normal when you look in international top football and when you recruit a lot of players. You see also Belgium, and with our new development center in Limburg, it's a province in Holland. It's near to the German border. Hopefully we can also recruit German players for the next few years to make a better PSV Eindhoven. If you see the next page, hopefully it will work. Yeah. Our formation phase, I told you when I show you the picture of Holland. We can recruit more players because normally we have one team, you have 18 players. We've doubled it up so we can give more chances to transfer players and we create time. So when a player joins us at under 10, we promise them you can stay at PSV for 2 years. So you don't have to hope to stay a year later. You don't have to be disappointed when you have to leave PSV. You have to leave PSV after 1 year. So we give them a chance for 2 years, which is really fine for them to develop before we decide to make choices to under 13 when they go to PSV and when they go to the school and maybe to guest parents. So we give them time. We can give them more chances closer to where they live. Big advantage in travel distance. And because we have a lot of players and a lot of development centers, you can look to the individual. So for example, if you look to the most northern development center in Orion, the under 10 has at the moment 7 players with 1 coach or maybe 2 coaches. Under 11 has 9 players with 2 coaches. Under 12 has 7 players with 2 coaches. So there's a lot of attention for each player. So because they train at the development center with a lot of coaches, you can challenge them and you can develop them, in our opinion, at most. So that's the reason why we choose to develop the players in the centers. Some statistics for next year. This year we have 42 under 12 players. 23 goes to under 13. So they go to the primary school and they go to train and play at Eindhoven. But the other 80% of the dropouts goes to other pro clubs. So 4 of the 5 players, when they join PSV in under 10, we can promise them, if you look to the statistics, 4 of the 5 players will remaining at the pro clubs in Holland. 50% stays at PSV, if you look to this year, and the other 30% joins other pro clubs in Holland. So it's for most of the players, it's not very disappointed when you have to leave PSV, because they can train and play in their own level at lower pro clubs. If you look to the right of your screen, this is we became champions at our under 13s, and it's really good because this is the first year they train together. Because if you train on your own development center, you train a player once a week with our development centers. So there are many coaches. They had to make the transition from team coach to individual coach, and in our opinion, it's not true that if you don't train with your same players, you can't be a good team. So if you put individuals together who have trained the same in all development centers, they can reach to become champions a half year later when they train half year together as well. So in our opinion, if you look to the championship for the last years, our philosophy is really successful when you compare it to other clubs, and if you see to the prizes, and if you see to the league, we became a champions last year. So that's the biggest advantage in the way how we work. Our player, and this is where I put the ownership and adaptability in. So I will explain you later what we think that are the key elements in the development of our own players. Of course, you have to be motivated, you have to work hard, and what we think is also really important, they have to be outstanding ability. There is a reason that they have an element, or they have a component where they are the best at their own amateur club. So you have an outstanding ability why you join PSV at under 10, and also the players we choose to become under 13 player, they also have an outstanding ability. So there's one player who can dribble well, there's one trainer who can pass well, you have really good defenders, you have big players, you have small players, you have kids who are really smart, but you have also not so smart kids. So it is a big, good mixture of outstanding abilities, and that's the reason why we think then you can create a team, so you can play together if you have different outstanding abilities. If you play with a team with 11 players with good dribbling skills, you can't win matches. But it's also really hard because the best player with dribbling skills can join the first teams. So if you have different outstanding abilities, the chance to reach the first team is bigger because there are more abilities to join the first team. Hard work, it means 10 hours of training, and I'm sorry for the Dutch words, but you see in the time you have 3 hours in our club or in our development center, but the first hour is an optimal session, and I'll show you later the IDP. There are coaches on the pitch, but it's optional for players. So if you have a team of 10 players, 5 players make it to be on time, so they can train for themselves, or they can ask a coach for help in their IDP training. And our team training is 120 minutes per session. So if you put it all together, you will train 4 days a week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Friday is the day off. Saturday you have to play a game or a tournament, and Sunday is the second day off. So this is for an under 11 player. It's much, but we think if you train 10 hours a week, it's better for your skills and for your development. The games on Saturday, we play, as you can see, different formats. 6v6, under 10, under 11s, under 12 play. They are playing 8 against 8. But if you compare on 1 month, you have 4 Saturdays in a month. I think we have 3 times we play competition and game in our national league, and we play 1 friendly or 1 tournament. And if you looked at adaptability, we have to bring our players in many different situations. So we play different formats, and we change them every Saturday to promote their adaptability. And that's the reason why we play different formats. But if you play competition games in the National League, against Ajax or maybe Utrecht or AZ, we play in this format. I see a question, sorry, how many players are total in 5 centers? I'll show it you earlier. We have 42 players. We have 42 players in four centers. So one center has 18 players, 1 8, 1 6, and 1 are also 8. So you have different players on the location, and the center where they train is the nearest in their home. So that's hopefully a good answer to your question. The youngest age group is under 10. So we start with under 10s. We have a pre-academy, which is on Sunday morning, and there we train with the amateur clubs once a week. Okay, and we go further, if that's okay for you. We go to our adaptability. We have adaptability not in also in behavior, and adaptability in switch of age groups, but we also have adaptability in our skills. I'll give you time to read what I've written. Okay, we analyzed our games, and if we play 6 vs 6 or 9 vs 9, you always see the dimension where the players play football, where the most players are in which box. They're always if you compare with 8 against 8, there are always 12 players in a small box with 25 or 25 meters. So you have 2 goalkeepers, and 12 players are in, for example, in box 10. So if we go to our training plan, what we're going to do in our training sessions, it's based on that box. So for example, if you have 2 hours training, the first 1 hour is to develop the skills what you need in each box. So we put it in we put it in 6 weeks, and in our 6 weeks we have 4 attacking cycles. We have 2 defensive weeks where we train in, and we always ask the question to our coaches, to our players, what skills do you need in the box? So if you try to build up from behind, you're in box 3 or you're in box 10, because in our opinion, we think we have to teach our players to play through it. So you have to play from 3 to 10 or maybe to 9, because you can score the most goals if you play through the middle. But there are a lot of space behind the last line, because if we build up from behind, for example, in box 3, the last defensive line of the opponent is around box 10. So there's a lot of spatial awareness, how we call it, behind the last line. If you compare it to what I've told, our first week is when we go to 3 and 10. So which, for example, you need a pass, a diagonal pass to reach one of the defenders. They can dribble or they can pass if someone's attacked them. So what skills do you need? So you need a diagonal pass, you need a good first touch, you need a good first receiving. You have to dribble straight to box 10. Or if you need a diagonal pass from past 10, someone receiving the ball at box 10, what's his option? Maybe he can give a one touch, or maybe he can turn, he can dribble, or maybe he needs a 1 vs 1 movement. Or that's the reason why we go from 3 to 10, and we combine the boxes. The second week we combine also box 2 in it. So we can't play through it. We can't reach box 10. So maybe we can use another zone. So you can't play through the middle. So we have to play through the backs. So maybe we go to box 2 to reach box 10, or maybe we reach box 9. So we split different skills in the boxes. And the first hour we give them, we filled up their backpack or their rucksack. We fill them with a lot of skills, what they need in the box. And in the second hour, they can explore which choice is the best. And the zonals, the other zonals we use as operational space, how we call it. I don't know if it's a good English word, but we use other box to make runs to, because if you always train in box 3 or box 10, there are no that you can't run beyond the light line. You can't make a movement because the last line, because there's no space. So we want to create space with maybe offside lines, or we can use the last line to be really high because a lot of space behind the line, so they can make runs. But we also develop our defenders to defend with space in their backs, because it's a small pitch, it's a small box. It's really easy for them to defend. So that's the reason why we combine the boxes together. And of course, our primary goal is to put a lot of attacking skills to the players and give them options. But also we have to develop defending skills to create a lot of different players with outstanding ability. We split skills in technical, tactical, physical, and football behavior, and it comes back every week or every training session. Okay, I have a short video for you. It's Dutch again. I'm very sorry, but I'm going to explain you. This is our first and our second week in our phase, in our cycle, and we are attacking skills, attacking options, attacking principles of play. So one of the principles of play is to recognize, to create an overload in box 3. So there are different kinds of overloads with different kind of players to be in box 3. And you can reach them with a dribble, or you can reach them with a pass. And we would like to play through it to box 10. So we would like to play from 3 to 10. The skills are to reach players in the pockets between the lines, and they have to look to create awareness if they can give a first touch, or they can turn and they can dribble. And the third principle here is to reach the third man principle. And we give we filled the backpack the whole week with the skills. They had to make their own choices in what they think was the best choice in training sessions. And now we're going to make connection to the game on Saturday, and hopefully we see things back what we trained the whole week or the whole 2 weeks. So hopefully you see a lot of skills, passing skills, dribbling skills, diagonal passes, good first touches, players who are in the between the lines or in the pocket, and you see a lot of space not only in box 3 and in box 10, but also the operational space and behind the last line and at the sides. And it's, if you look to adaptability, it's 7 against 7 the game on Saturday. We played against NEC, and we play with offside. So there are zonals with offside, and we play 7 vs 7. And the second video is indoors, where we play 5 against 5. And hopefully you see a lot of similar things between the two games. The central midfielder, he can join, so the blonde guy in the middle. Overload in box 3. So that's option 1. The goalkeeper can create an overload. So you see the goalkeeper here. the left side. We have to create 2 against 1, an overload. You see a lot of diagonal passes. Cupid joins as well. It's a striker. Contrast side. You see one back. Small guy on the left. You see a lot of diagonal passes. Small box. And a contrast side at the right. In the pocket. So if you see, and this is what I told one of the first pages, this is 25 by 25. But you see at the right side, you see a lot of space, and you see after the last line, behind the last line, a lot of space. So in the box, this is box 10 with box 511. What qualities do you need to play in that box, and what do you need to get out of the box to create chances of the score? In the pocket, good first touch and a goal. This is under 12. Examples of passes and plays over between the lines or in the pockets. Contrast side, the right side. Good movement by the striker. No goal. This is a clip of 2 minutes almost. You see a lot of principles and skills, what we developed. It's no goal. You see the transition. We close the box as soon as possible. A little bit of mess. Here we recover the ball, and then the magic happens. This is under 11 indoor. Okay, I'll show you again, second time. Okay, hopefully video did really well with you. Hopefully the quality was good. So also adaptability in, if you look at training or in games, if you look at principles of plays and skills. But second part of adaptability is to train our high potentials. In our opinion, or in my opinion, if you look to football, we only train the coaches. We train the middle ratings of our team. So to create a better team. But in my opinion, you have to train your players with the most potential. You have to train everybody, but you give more attention to the best players because they need attention because they are the best players. Most of the time, the best players under 12 aren't the best players anymore when they reached the under 16. And in our opinion, it's because if you don't challenge your best players, player number 3 or 4 become better than player 1 or 2 because they're becoming a little bit of lazy, because they don't work hard anymore because they know they are the best player. So in our philosophy, you can be once a week the best of your team. So not every session, once a week. Hopefully it's on Saturday, you're the best of your team. But in our opinion, you have to challenge your individuals. You have to stretch them. So for example, we have 3 players. We are on the right side. And at this moment, they're under 10, but they train with under 12. If you look to the right guy, he's really good with dribbling. He's a lot of dribbling skills, but it's really too easy for him. And he has to train with under 12s. They defend better, they defend harder. So he has to make other solutions than only dribbling. So his passing drills are becoming better because otherwise, if he dribbles all the time, they kick him or he loses the ball every time. So now he made a solution. If I pass the ball, it's in some ways the best choice for me. The middle guy is one of our best defenders. He defends really well, but if he has to defend to bigger guys or older guys, it's harder for him to always slide or always make tackles. So he has to be smarter. He has to defend smarter to also recover and catch the balls. So you have to make solutions, but we think they have to be the best once a week. So if you look to the training sessions each week, they train 2 times they're under 12, they play 2 times they're under 11, and they play a game against Ajax, for example, at Saturday with their under 10s. And hopefully they are the best at under 10s against Ajax, and they have developed in a higher level with older guys, with all the other coaches. So you have to adapt in every situation. You only tell the players you have to be the best every training sessions, not the best in a level, but the best in hard work. You have to work hard every day. You have to be your best every day to develop to the utmost. That's the reason why we switch the players. So we think we do that with, I think, 25% of our players. Other players get challenged as well because every training session they want to become the best player. If you always train with better players at your same age. So that's the reason why we don't switch with every player, but only with our high potentials. Not only high potentials in when you are really big and you are physically much older than your other guys, but also with players who have outstanding ability, like the right guy who has really dribbling skills. So it's really small. He dribbles really well, but he has to train with bigger and older players to make other solutions than dribble. So it's not always with our biggest players or our tallest players, but also with players who has an outstanding ability. If you look to games, because we have different development centers, we mix them every Saturday. So we mix them combined with centers, but also sometimes on maturity or biological age, but also with level of performance or resistance. So for example, when we play against Liverpool in a tournament, we want to play with our best players who are the best at this moment. So not always the tallest player, but the best players at the moment play against Ajax. And most of the time, they're the players, the high potential players who train and play with all the guys in the rest of the week. So we combine it a level of resistance or a level with a performance. Because we have to choose from under 12 to under 13. So this year from 42 players to 23 players. The players under 12 are mixed of level of promotions. So team A is the team where we think they make the most potential to reach under 13. And the second group, the best player of the second group is the best player of the second group. It's maybe if you compare it with the level in group A, he's at the middle. So for some players, it's really good to be the best player at group B, and then you develop more, you learn more. Then you play at group A, where you always fight for yourself because it's really difficult. So that's the reason why we combine it with under 12 level of performance. Otherwise, for under 13, and otherwise for developing the players who are between group A and group B. Also with coaches, I am a really demanding coach, but you also have coaches who observe a lot and they be more quiet than I am, but you have to solve with every type of coach. So that's this reason why players have different coaches. They have one mentor, but most of the mentors, you see a player once a week. So you have to talk a lot with other coaches to know what the player did in training session or in games. So that's the reason why we switch a lot of a different type of coaches, level, formats, and teammates. So if you compare with under 10, they play every week with other teammates. So we mix it every Saturday to create adaptability because you have to play with everybody. I always use the example: if you reach the Dutch team, you reach the national team, and you're the only guy from your team, you need adaptability. For examples, there are a lot of examples when they go to the small club to a big club, or to a big club to a national team, they have to adapt a week, and then the training camp or the national week is over, and you need to adapt from day one to be at your best every training session or every game. That's the reason why we want adaptability in a fundament. Of course, when they go to development to the development phase of PSV, they're doing the same, but not so much of what we are doing, because it's easier for us because we have development centers and we have more kids to change it. Okay, second part is the ownership. When I was 3 weeks at the West Ham. It was where Terry Wesley was head of the academy of West Ham, and he had an IDP, and he told me a story of the Olympic Games, and he said it's really weird of football. You make a plan for 1 week for a team to win the game on Saturday, and he asked me a question: Joop, are you a first team coach or are you a developer? And the answer was, I was a first team coach. I was the coach who made a plan for a team to win the game on Saturday. So I needed the transition from team coach to individual coach. If you compare the Olympic Games, like Usain Bolt, he has to train 4 years for a race of 10 seconds. And he needs a plan for 4 years to reach the golden medal. And he needs 25 specialists to reach that goal. So he has to make a plan, not for a week, but for 4 years. So if you compare it with our foundation phase, when we promise the players you stay for 2 years at least at PSV, you have to make a plan for 2 or for 3 years. So that's our individual development plan, what we call at PSV our football story. And every player from under 10 till under 12 has his own book, and he works in the book every day at training and every game every day at the games. And I'll show you the big advantage why we stimulate ownership with our plan, with the book. What I told is for 3 years, and because we have a safe learning environment, you have to get to know your player. So the mentor of the player needs a good relationship to develop with the player in a two-way process. So it's not one way, it's not from the coach to the player, but it's also from the player to the coach. but you have to create a bond. So getting to know the player is, in our opinion, really, really important. So we have a man who's working at the welfare every day. We have specialists to the different age groups. So how to create a good learning environment. So it's really, really good for our players to develop at the end of the book. So you need a good mentor. And in a book, we get to know the player as a sort of introduction. And then we go to make plans to develop the players in their outstanding ability or the focus points of improvement. And with that, they can choose their own mentor. So, for example, we have really experienced coaches who play pro football, like Ruud van Nistelrooy. He's a coach of our under 18 group, and there was a guy of under 11 who wants to improve his scoring skills, and he wants to improve his dribbling and shooting practices. So he can choose Ruud van Nistelrooy as his own mentor to help him to develop his shooting skills. So they can choose. They have one mentor who helps them with the plan, but they have maybe 10 or 8 or 7 specialists to help them with their outstanding abilities or the focus point. That's why we stimulate it in the book, so you can monitor the development process. So you can every coach can read the book and he can see what the development is of every player. And we would like to promote self-regulation. So they have to make a plan how to develop their outstanding ability in the focus points, which I'll show you later. First of all, the mentorship. We go to the schools, we go to the homes. One guy is at dinner with one of his players. When they are at school, they talk with the mentor at school. They talk with the teachers. We are at school for a day, so we're sitting behind the class and observe the player when he's at school, and we compare with his behavior at the football club. And most of the time, we see a lot of difference how they are on school and how they are at our football club, and also at home. So you see the 3 different kind of behaviors from one player, but it's really good to know. And they have to introduce themselves at the photo collage, photo college, and you see he can choose his own pictures he wants to share with his mentor or with his coach. And you see a picture from his favorite club, you see a picture of his family, from his school, from his hobbies. So they have to introduce themselves with the college. And one of the first meetings, the first talk with the player, maybe costs us 1 or 2 hours with one player, and a whole day to go to his home and to go to his school. So it's really an investment for us, but it's really good to get to know the player and to create a good bond with every player. The ownership in the IDP is Dutch. I'm sorry, but it's outstanding ability and it's focus points on your right side. And we ask players, where are you good at? What's your outstanding ability? Why you play at PSV? And you fit it in at point 1, and you have to improve the proof you think where you're the best at. So, for example, if I have a really good pass, I have to make it better, because that's maybe my outstanding ability to reach the first team. So train where you're good at, but also develop your points of improvement. We call it focus points. So which skills do you need to develop yourself to become a player? And they make a connection to the pitch, and they can choose their favorite player to look at. So, for example, one of our left wingers, he looks and he shows us clips of Robertson. Most of the players choose Messi to dribble. They choose Ronaldo to score, but they can also choose players from PSV from the academy. So there's a lot of young players. You have a mentor, for example, in awareness, and they are in under 11, but you see a player of under 15 who's really good. The under 15 player can be his mentor, can also be his mentor. So he can also choose a picture from his mentor from under 15, or maybe a mentor from the first team of PSV, And it's really good for them to look at the player, to learn from the player, but also talk to the player. That's really good when they choose a player from PSV, because there's always a connection between the Fundament and the player from the first team, or in this case, the under 15. At the left side, you see your main goal, what you want to reach, what do you dream of, so and how to, if you look to the stepping stones, how to come to your dream. What do you need to fill your dream in 5 ways? So it's most of the time it's a dream to play at the Dutch national team or play in the first team of PSV. What do you need in between the years to reach that goal? They fill it in by themselves, or with their parents, or with their mentors. But you have to fill it in at the start of the season, or maybe at the half of the season. And every coach looks at it, but the mentor is responsible for his player and from the outstanding ability, the plan, and his focus points. Set goals and reflect. The left side, there are 4 questions. What's your goal? How are you going to reach it? When you're going to work on it, and who's going to help you? Those are 4 questions we ask the players. So I've told you in the previous page, and the goal is not what you want to reach, but what do you want to improve. So, for example, you have an outstanding ability, that's shooting, and your main thing is to not only shoot with your right, but also with your left. So how are you going to achieve it? I'm going to train on it in the first half hour of training with my mentor, with my specialist. I'm going to train it 2 times a week, on Monday or on Wednesday. And who's going to help you? My mentor on a 2 times in training, Ruud van Nistelrooy, when I see him as a coach at PSV, and Sergio Aguero of City on Sunday when I watch television. So they make a goal of each outstanding ability, of each focus point, and there's a checklist behind the points, and they can check it out if they think they've reached their goal, and then they go further to the second, or to the third, or to the 4th goal, what they want to reach. At the right, there's they can reflect themselves. So there's a date. They fill in the date, what they have done, and they give reflection to themselves. And there are questions: what went well? Why did it went well? And what can you do better next time? So they can fill it in after a session. They can fill it in after a game. They can fill it in once a week. It's up to them. And one player uses it every day. One player uses it once a week. And some player use it once a month. But we help them with it. It's not something they have to do. I'm going to show. I'm going to answer some questions, if they are. Is it possible to get a copy? No, I'm sorry. Now I'm gonna answer the questions after the presentation. There are no questions about the individual development plan. Okay, so I go further with my presentation. I'll answer the questions later, if it's okay for you. The coach, again, adaptability, and again, the ownership. Because if you have this philosophy, what we think is really good. It's if you also need adaptability from your coaches. The coach had to make a transition. What I did from team coach to individual coach. So you train with a lot of players, but you don't coach them on Saturday. You train with players, but they won't play together on Saturday. So you need adaptability that maybe you coach players on Saturday that you haven't trained in the week. But it's better for us because if you're under 10 coach, you have to know all 32 players on all different development centers to coach them on Saturday or to coach them on tournaments. So they need adaptability. There are coaches that want to train 16 players the whole week, and they want to perform with the team on Saturday. They are not able to coach a PSV team. They're not able to be a coach of PSV because they don't have adaptability. And that's really hard in the beginning for me, but also for coaches. But you see, after 2 years, everybody is happy because they're responsible of all players in the age group and not of their own. So they can compare players with each other to give a good advice for the under 13 when we make a selection. Also, they have their own unique IDP plan. So also for coaches, and I'm responsible for the players, but also for the coaches. And also, they have to work really hard, our coaches, because they are part-time at the club. They have a contract for 20 hours a week. But if you watch the schedule, if we have 4 sessions a week, we have a game on Saturday, and we have a lot of meetings. They almost make they double their hours what they get paid off. So they get paid for 20 hours, but they make 40, 50, or maybe 60 hours a week. That's to develop themselves to earn a full-time contract when they're doing well in 1, 2, or 3 years. So it's the same as what we want from our players. We also want for our coaches. So they have, and also an IDP. It's the same as what we want with our players. So the same, again, outstanding abilities, again, the focus points, and they fit it on the pitch on the right side. Again, the Dutch words, but his outstanding abilities are he has good relationship with his players. So you see a picture of Louis van Gaal, who he thinks is his mentor. He gives structure to his training sessions. He thinks he's really intelligent, he's really smart, and his outstanding ability is he wants to learn a lot. What he wants to improve is he wants to observe and learn from other coaches. He wants to be demanding to his players. He wants to give a technical example to his players, and he wants to look better to his players. This I don't know the right word for it, but he wants to. So he improves his outstanding abilities, but also he improves his weaknesses or his focus points, so to increase. And also we look further in 3 years what they want to achieve in 3 years. So what do you want to achieve in a year? What's your main coaching goal? But also in 3 years. And most of the coaches want to reach a full-time contract, or they want to reach to become a coach of under 13 or under 14 or under 15. And I always ask them the question, what do you need? Who can help you? So for example, the coach wants to be more demanding to his players. He is going to observe my sessions, and if he wants to give a technical example, he's going to watch our technical training. Our technical trainer who is really good at skills, dribbling skills, for example, of passing skills. So so they have their own plan, and they have to become better and better to reach the goal what they want to reach. This is 2 sessions a week. I give the aim coach session, sometimes on the development center. So I switch with another colleague of all the development centers. So I see every coach once a week on this development center, but also when they come together at PSV. And now we have sessions with each other. We have meetings per age group, and we go on a pitch to train with each other and to exchange training exercises. But we also have specialists who join us in the sessions. For example, coaches from PSV, from the first team, or for our development center, development phase. But also mental coaches, field analysts, specialists. So to increase the knowledge of every coach. So this is every Wednesday and Thursday. So 4 training sessions, 1 game on Saturday, and 2 coaching sessions with each other. So they make a lot of hours for PSV, but also to improve their own skills. So yeah, again, it's the same what we want with our players, we want with our coaches. You see it all really young coaches. The youngest coach is 20, I think, and the oldest coach is, I think it's me, so it's 34. So a really young group of good coaches, in my opinion. So before I answer all your questions, quick summary: what we think are necessary in our academy, especially in our foundation phase. So yeah, hopefully I've presented you all of the points who are here in the summary, and we know all the players with hopefully great pictures. Question and answer. Sean, do you have questions which I have to answer?
None that I have to answer. You have to answer. I'll take a quick look at them as we're going, so we can fill out any that you've already answered through the course of the presentation. I had a couple of questions for you myself as we were going. Okay. What kind of support do you guys get from the Dutch FA in terms of not only preparing players for PSV, but also in preparing players to potentially go into the national youth team, you know, the elite environment?
They are really happy because we give a lot of talented players chances to play pro football, because I think it's the same in America and also in England. If you select 16 players, you select players who are the best at that moment, not the potential players. So because we are not playing with a team, we can choose a different type of different players. So we recruit more players, we train more players, and we give more players chances, because the FA is really happy with it, because one of the main things they want to increase in Holland is to they call it create chances for everybody. So create the same chances for every player who wants to reach a pro club. So we're different than other clubs. So the FA is really happy with us and how we're doing it, and they want to show us. They want our example. They want to show the other pro clubs to do the same. I'm sorry, Sean, I can't hear you. Yep.
There we go. Sorry. You mentioned in the box exercises and activities, you have, I guess, roles and skills that you want your players to utilize in each separate area of the field to tie in with that. Do you set them restrictions to do that, or do you set them incentives? Do you reward them for doing certain actions in certain areas? How do you kind of balance that part of it in terms of instruction, but also discovery?
Yeah, and under 10, they can do what they want. Because we play 6-4-6, it's really important to dominate the 1-against-1, attacking and defending. So we fill in under 10, we fill our backpack. So try to dominate 1-against-1. But when we go to under 11 and under 12, it's going to be more. It's not. We don't call it tactics, but we call it more principles. For example, we want 2 players in box 3. We want 2 players in box 2. We want 1 player at the sides. But they have to adapt in every situation. So when a striker goes to the zone 7 or the zone 2, there's another person who has to be in the box with the striker. So there's a lot of rotation in the formation between the boxes. So we don't tell them what to do, but try and find out where you can create your own space. But we say, for example, in box 3, so when we build up, it's not really good when you dribble in box 3, because if you lose the ball, the striker can cover it and he can score a goal. But if you're on box 10, you can do what you want. But you have to find a solution in the box of 25 or 25. So that's the reason why you play in boxes. So no restrictions, but what's the best solution in the box? We ask the players the questions, and they have to reflect it, and we give them feedback.
Okay. Do you find that the reflecting part of it, even in the young foundation phase, important parts? So you're giving them the information, but they're also helping to find it themselves, and then reflecting on it to help them development further down the line a little bit, you know?
Yeah, they have to reflect in the IDP. Or you have to reflect when they ask them questions. But it's there are a lot of coaches who ask too many questions, in my opinion. So you have to prepare them for the development phase. So you have to demand a lot from them. So we have demand, and we ask questions when they drink, or we have questions when we look. We have a lot of videos, and we're going to sit with the players with the video, and we ask them questions after a match, not during the match or during a training session, but more after. And you have to reflect. We give them a clips, and you have to watch it by themselves, and they have to give a reflection. And when they are back on a training session, we're going to speak with the kids what they done, what they did well, what they can do better. So they have to reflect themselves, but not during the sessions, but maybe after the sessions, or when they have a rest between the sessions, or maybe after the game, or when they watch the video clips.
And then when it comes to video clips and analysis, do you guys have a lot of that in the foundation phase, or what age do you generally start with that process with them?
We start with under 10. But it's more of what do you need, and watch yourself. For example, if on a 10 player, if you have to dominate the 1v1, we show them clips 1v1, so they can watch for themselves and they can learn from what they can do better in the next situation. But if you look to, for example, under 12, we have more principles of play in team or individual. So we look more games than training sessions, and under 10 we look more training sessions than games, because we have to prepare them for under 13 when they have to play 11 vs 11, and it's more team and individual. So we have to make steps from under 10 to under 13. So a lot of videos, but from individual to team, from under 10 till under 12 or under 13.
And in the video you showed, you had some futsal. How big a part of futsal is the training that PSV do, or I guess in the Dutch setup in general?
Yeah, we have our indoor facility at PSV, so they can train on it. And we get invited a lot of tournaments during the winter to play indoor. So there's also a kind of adaptability, that you be also the best player indoor futsal than you are outdoors. So most of the time we play futsal in the winter tournaments, and now we train once a week indoors to prepare them for the big tournaments. And we do it with under 10, but also with our under 12s.
Perfect. And we had a question from Scott come in. It comes into the game aspect. What is the coaching style during the game at this phase of the academy? The coaches give a lot of information during the game, and how much input do players have in the team talks at halftime, pre-game, post-game?
Depends on the player, on the coaches, but also on the players. We are really demanding, and we want demanding coaches in skills. So not in options or not in solution, but in skills. And so, for example, I give a halftime talk, but I'm not going to talk with the whole team. I'm going to talk with individuals in part of skills. But some other coaches, they give autonomy to the players, so they can choose which formation you want to play, how do you want to put pressure, or how you want to build up. So we are really demanding in skills and in options, but not in for example, in team tactics. So we give a lot of autonomy to the players, but we are really demanding in skills and in football behavior. So if they are disappointing when they lose the ball and they don't transist really well, we are really angry. Not if they play a really bad ball, if they lose the ball after a dribble, then we don't say anything. But if they do it twice or they do it 3 times, we give them solutions to do it better. So it's a little bit of the same, but it's also depends on the type of coach. So I think you have more observing coach at under 10, and you have more demanding coach at under 12.
And a lot of what you're saying, I mean, I'm not sure how many of you guys were with us yesterday, but we had Romeo Joseph on, and the whole presentation was geared around technical formation before we introduce a lot of tactics, before we introduce a lot of decision making. And it seems like what you guys have focused on in these early foundation phases is giving players a complete skill set. So they have and the ability to solve problems with all of this creative technique rather than being reliant on one foot or on one skill that takes them through because they're very good at it. Would you say that's kind of how you guys structure the model moving through the foundation phase?
Yeah, that's true. We want to fill the backpacks with every skills in defending and attacking, but also in football behavior. But what we really try to improve is their outstanding abilities. So they have what I told in the presentation. Your outstanding ability is something you reach the under 13 with, or maybe the first team. So yeah, it's true. It gives them a lot of skills, but also improve your outstanding abilities.
Do you balance how you coach on the level of the players? I know obviously you guys have to pick up the best players in your area. But if you find that your players are really struggling to be able to master the technical aspect of the game, is it harder for you to progress them onto not decision-based, but games which have higher pressure and are a little bit less structured in the environment? How do you balance that?
Yes, is a good question. But it's a really big difference between 6v6 to 11 against 11. So we give players time to adapt to PSV, and we give them a chance for 2 years. But after 2 years, if you aren't good enough, you not in how good you are at the moment, but in potential, so you didn't learn a lot in 2 years, then we have to say goodbye and recruit another player. For example, 2 years ago, they recruited 6 new players for under 13. But if you look to this year, we haven't recruited anyone because we were really satisfied with all the players who reached under 13. And because of their outstanding abilities, so wide range of different qualities of the players, I think that's the most key point for reaching under 13.
Sorry, my signal dropped there, guys.
Okay.
But I'm back. So a couple of questions from the other guys as well. Question from Graham, and I think this one is pretty appropriate to at that highest level, but also to a lot of coaches at lower levels. How do you communicate with parent whose child isn't classed as high potential? And also, how do you explain the game model and the technique above development of, say, winning when it comes to the games?
The first question is we have a mentor for 6, 7, or 8 players, so it's really easy for them to know every parent. So there's a communication every week of every day with the parents, and we have a session from parents, I think 3 or 4 times a year. So we give them information and they can answer me the questions. But we are not focused on high potential. We are focused on every player of the foundation phase, and it's the middle group who aren't a high potential at the moment can hopefully become a high potential, because there are many times a week when they are the best players because the high potentials moved to a year higher for the development. So we're not only focused on the high potential, we're focused on every player, but of course everybody sees the 6 most high potential or the most of the best players. But in our opinion, you have to challenge your best players in different situations. So when you are, for example, an under 10 player isn't the best player when he trains and plays under 11. So if you have different kind of situations, and we talk to the player, but also with the parents. Don't be scared when you're not at the high potential. Maybe there are a lot of players who train 3 times with his own age every day, but they also reach the under 13. So it's not certainty if you are a high potential player to reach under 13. So every player for us is really important. But we switch with our high potential players because they need the attention. And if you talk with the parents, and if you give the reason why you do things, they understand it, why you do it, and they are really happy because every son plays on his own level, and he is a lot of fun because he plays always on his own level.
You find that it can be harder to predict high potential players in the long term in the foundation phase, given the nature of puberty growth patterns and in terms of projections, players' development levels can change so quickly and can be so affected by physicality when they go into that growth period. How do you guys balance that determination when you're working in these younger age groups?
It's also a combination, but we are really happy because we have so many players that we make a combination of diversity of outstanding abilities. So it's really hard to predict, but we don't say we can predict, but we give a lot of players a chance to develop themselves and to make a good choice till under 13. So we not only choose the best players at the moment, we have also a lot of high potentials who can become the best player. So if you look to our groups, for example, the next under 13, there's a big diversity of outstanding abilities, but also there's one is really big, and there's also a little small player. There's one who dribbles a lot, there's one who passes a lot. So it's not we don't look at how good you are at the moment, but also look at the potential you have. So that's maybe the combination of the two.
Do you guys use, I guess, physical forecasting in terms of looking at the parents at any point to say, this kid's parents are both very tall, or this kid comes from a very athletic family? Does that play any part in determining your potential if a kid's maybe struggling technically, but they've got a lot of athletic upside that could potentially help them collect on the technical aspects quicker?
Yeah, we test our players every month on speed, on how they move, how they balance, and how they grow, how big they are. So we test the players once a month. So we have an indication because we can compare with other years before. So in our opinion, you have to be fast. You have to be a good pace. So we test them, so we can predict a little bit physicality in 2, hopefully 3 years. But we don't look parents, but we look to our test and the results of the test. So I think that's maybe the only answer of your question.
We've got a couple of questions from Nathan. I'll ask you the first one. Within a training session, what creative things can you do to incorporate a player's individual plan within the team session? How do you plan around that?
Because we are at one development center, you don't train with your own team. So, for example, if you have we have 4 exercises in the first hour, and we combine the players who has the same plan. So if you want to increase your left foot and you are right, there's one group with one coach who is going to put an exercise for your left feet. And so on 10 players there, and on 11 players there, on 12 players there. So you play with your center, and if you look to your IDP, we combine exercise together, and we combine players together with a specialist who's really good at it. So you have exercise awareness, you have exercise dribbling, and exercise of passing or shooting, and we combine all the players 2 times a week. Once a week we play with your own age. You're going to do the same. There's a good combination of team training, but also IDP training in the things you want to improve.
You mentioned a pretty common one, I guess, because you've got a player whose individual development plan has them wanting to improve their weaker foot. So if you were coaching a group session, not necessarily with their team, but in a group, and you were doing, say, the box game, or even on the games at the weekend, would you be putting that player in positions where they would be more, I guess, likely to use their weaker foot to challenge them, help develop the individual part of their plan?
And under 10, you have to play on every position on a Saturday game. And then when they reach under 11, we're going to what's his potential position. So but we don't have we have one winger in our system. So on the right side, there's only one player. So he has a lot of space, because if you look, for example, to Andrew Robertson from Liverpool, he can run to the whole side. So we want right wingers who can run at the whole side, so they can choose their own space where they going to attack or how they're going to defend. So they come and they attack and they defend in each position of the game. For example, a central defender who wants to train his awareness, we put him as a central midfielder, so in box 10, to develop his weak points, of his points of improvement. For example, if, like your example, if they want to train the weak foot, we switch sides. So a right winger with his right feet comes to the left side, so he can dribble, or he can pass, he can shoot with his weaker foot. But what we don't do is, at under 12 or under 11, we put the striker as a goalkeeper or a center back, and we put him in as a striker. That's the difference is too big in our opinion.
That makes a lot of sense. So Nathan had another question. Within PSV, and this is in reference to coaches, what are the outstanding qualities that you must have as a coach to be selected or be given the opportunity to coach within foundation phase at the club, and I guess at the club in general? What is the club looking for from their coaches?
Yeah, you have to be really motivated, because you have to invest a lot. Because when you start a PSV, most of the time as an assistant coach, you get 1,700 euros for a year. So they have to invest a lot. They have to make a lot of hours to invest. So you need to be motivated. You have to be responsibility, but you also need to have a good coaching voice. You have to be good with kids. You have to be determined. You have to be social. A lot of components you need as a PSV coach. But most of the coaches we recruit, we know, or they join PSV as an assistant coach. And when they go to the process and when they go to education, the next step from assistant coach is to become an attendant coach, and further to a full-time contract. So it's a lot of combination of different components, but each has its own outstanding ability. It's just really hard to give them 3 components they have to. So it's diversity of coaches. But they need to be motivated, determined, and they need to be a full-time at the football club to develop.
Perfect. One last question from our attendees, and then I have one last question for you as well. Firstly, it's from Mike. He said, "Joop, some brilliant insights. Thank you." I agree, Mike. Getting players in for 10 hours a week will be deemed too much by some. What are your thoughts on that, and on Bayern recently scrapping the youngest age groups in line with foundation phases?
Yeah, 10 hours is a lot. And when we look to the individuals and we see if it's too much for an individual, we can skip 1 or 2 training sessions a week. But also if they have a party with friends, or they have a party with a family on Saturday or on Monday, after Wednesday or Thursday, they can skip a session. So we give them chances to train 10 hours a week. But if they want to go with friends, or if they have a party, if they have something, when you go with the parents or a small holiday, they can do it. So it's up to the players. But most of the players, if they train 10 hours and they play a game on Saturday, they are really angry when the training is done. So they're really angry when you have a day off on Friday, on Sunday. The kids want to play football every day. And because we have a lot of diversity of coaches and exercises, it's really fun for them, because it's always different. It's not every training session is the same. So that's really nice for them, and they want to train. When they have to choose, they want to train 7 days a week.
And my last question for you. You mentioned a little bit about the coach development process that happens at PSV. from your own individual perspective, what have you found to be the most beneficial in terms of your development? And if you had to have a piece of advice for coaches, what would you recommend that they really focus on when it comes to individual development as a coach?
Yeah, in my experience is you have to be determined. You have to be, you have a philosophy as a coach. You have a personality, how you are, and of course you have to change. But you have to make many hours. And my advice is to start low and to increase your own career from lower clubs to pro clubs. Because if you, for example, if you have started by PSV, if you start at the top, you don't know what it's like to be a coach of younger ages or lower clubs. So invest a lot in yourself. And if you want to be a team coach, go to a first team. And if you want to be in the foundation phase or the development phase, start coaching and train by the individual, because that's in my opinion your main thing. What you have to do as a coach the individual and help them, and then you have a good team of individuals when you help them really well. If you want to be a coach, don't go in a foundation phase, but join the first team.
And in terms of your individual goals, well, what is the long-term goal for you? Is it foundation phase? Is it youth academies? Is it continuing to coach and progress? Well, what is the dream there? I
have different dreams. I want to be a head of academy, hopefully. I want to be assistant coach of the first team. I've trained under 17 for the last 4 or 5 years, so maybe I want to be the best under 17 coach in Holland or in the world. So I have different dreams that I want to achieve. What I've told you in my introduction is my dream, because I think in England England is the best football country in the world. Not only football, but also the atmosphere. And I think my dream is to be a good developer in England by a good pro club. But I extend my contract at PSV for 2 years, so maybe after 2 years I will go to England. That's my biggest dream.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate you joining us today, and a lot of great feedback, a lot of great questions. So thank you guys. Apologies if we weren't able to get to them today. But thank you, Joop, for this really insightful look behind the scenes at PSV and what you guys are doing with those youngest kids, because I know we've got a lot of coaches who work in those phases. Personally, I work in that phase predominantly as well. So it's a great insight to see what professional clubs and academies in some very successful countries when it comes to development are doing. So from my perspective, again, Joop, just thank you so much for taking the time and putting the effort in to do this. We appreciate it. And for anyone who joined us, thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And my email address is at the top. So if you have another question, you can send me an email.
Thanks, guys.